Hey everyone, my name is Anthony Johnson, founder of the 21 Convention and 21 Studios. Today, here on this episode of 21 Radio, I'm with Richard Cooper from Entrepreneurs in Cars, a very popular YouTube channel that's blowing up lately with subscribers and videos. Richard, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother.
Oh, I should also mention, of course, Richard Cooper is a confirmed speaker this year for the 21 Convention 2017 10-year anniversary event. He was personally recommended to me by Rollo Tomasi of the Rational Mail.
Yeah, that was quite the recommendation, because I reached out
Yeah.
to him because I had finished reading his book and it was a game changer in the way that I had viewed a lot of stuff in life.
Yeah.
And then we did the interview. In the end, he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to be down here in the fall. You should really be a speaker there. I'm going to recommend you." So that was kind of flattering.
No, dude, I take his recommendations like really seriously. You're not the only speaker this year that's come on because of him.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to meet you, and I'm glad to have you at the event.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So with your channel and with what you do now, can you kind of give us the origin or intro story to what is it or what it is?
Yeah, I started it at a time in life when I was really stuck on stuff, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had left a very familiar and happy place in a entrepreneur's organization that I was thriving in. I was kind of like just treading water, and I wasn't moving, so I felt like I needed to grow. So I left that, and I started kind of just putting these videos together on stuff that I was passionate about. There's a podcaster and author. His name's James Altucher, and he did this one session that I was listening to, and it kind of came at the right time. It's like one of those things where it's like, when you're stuck on something, the teacher kind of appears, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And the episode was about idea generation stuff. And he said, basically, what did you love doing when you were about 12 years old? Find a couple passions that you have and marry them into that. And I've always been a car guy. Like I was a kid that had the poster of the white Lamborghini Countach with the Pirelli logo on the bottom and the black background and the phone dial wheels. Nice. So, I've always been a big car guy. And, for the past 10 years being an entrepreneur and being involved with a lot of this stuff, it's like you find your tribe and people get you. So I just figured I'll just mash up cars and entrepreneurship, and I'll showcase successful entrepreneurs in their rides, and they'll kind of tell their success stories and the stuff they got stuck on. And I found out that it's very difficult to put out really good video content on YouTube. And I started running out of friends that had cool cars, and I didn't have the talent, or I didn't want to spend any money because I like to bootstrap startups to hire somebody to edit and put stuff together. So by the time I ran out of videos of interviewing people in their cool cars, I think it was the first 5 or 6 on the channel. I mean, you can go back to the start and check it out.
Okay.
Then I started filling it in with business tips, like how I hire people by using parties and the best way to leverage lawyers in your business, and so on and so forth. And then people started asking me questions in the comments about relationships and women and stuff. And I don't know why they figured I might have any experience in it. I mean, I did, obviously, because I'm older, and I've been married and divorced.
You've survived a lot of shit. You're older. I mean, everything that's trying to kill you so far has failed.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. Yeah. So
I actually heard that first from you with regard to scars on your channel. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. So scars are just proof that, whatever tried to kill you was a lot weaker than you. So I've got scars on my arms and chest and neck and stuff. So I started talking about that sort of stuff and becoming a better version of yourself. And I started to notice like a general trend. It was just like me talking about being a better version of yourself. So the content that I put out, I like cars, so there's stuff that goes out on that. I like talking about dating and women and business and self-care. Basically the pillars of just being a better man, sort of thing. So
okay.
I'm just some meatball on the planet like you are, flying around the sun on a rock at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So sure. That's just me sharing my experiences with people.
No, man, I get now, I mean, before, but especially now hearing this, why Rollo recommended you for the convention and for what we do. So this is a perfect fit for everything that we do.
Cool.
Well, thanks for that. I wanted to move then into, you saw this before I even hopped on, or we hopped on live, but these are actually your 3 most recommended books. Are these upside down?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have from Jack Donovan, The Way of Men. We have, of course, The Rational Male from Rollo Tomasi, which I believe is your #1 book recommended right now.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the third one is Bachelor Economics, which I'm least familiar with out of the 3. I just got this like a week ago.
Yeah.
So our fans are most familiar at this point with Rollo, so we could start there. And then from there, I'd like to move into the other 2 books and why you recommend these books for young men, or for any man for that matter.
Yeah, I've read Rollo's book probably about 3 times now, or listened to it, because I don't read books. I just listen while I drive. I get a Audible credit monthly, so I just buy books.
Okay.
And it was a complete game changer in the way that I viewed women, relationships, society, like a lot of shit. And it was recommended to me from a friend that I met at a retreat in Washington in December. I was at an all men's retreat, entrepreneurs group again, and we were talking about dating and women and stuff. And he said, "You got to read this book," because we were talking about the Red Pill movie. And I grabbed it and I downloaded it on the flight back. So
now, was it, when you say game changer, was it like completely new to you and challenging, or was it like connecting the dots for things you already knew? Or a bit
I
of both?
think it was amplifying my intuition. Like my intuition knew all along. Like one of the things that I've talked about a lot on my channel is guys really sucking with listening to their intuition and subscribing to it. And all it did was it just amplified the voice that was talking to me my entire life, to a point where it's like taking a frying pan to the forehead and really, waking up. He starts the book with a line, something like, your eyes will hurt because you haven't been using them, or something along that line.
Yeah.
It's completely true, right? I mean, until you really set aside all the blue pill nonsense, all the crap that the media, religion, your parents, and everybody's been feeding you all your life and cramming down your throat, it's very hard to listen to your intuition and, get into the reality of dealing with women and intergender relationships and sexuality and masculinity and all that stuff. And it's a big part of guys' lives. It's a huge part of guys' lives.
Yeah, I think that's why Rollo is a little bit critical of the like MGTOW movement. It's that you can't get away from it. It's such a huge part of life, even if you try to get away from it.
I am too. Like I don't subscribe to the whole, pump 'em, dump 'em, MGTOW, blah, blah, blah stuff. I think that if you operate with a lens of red pill awareness, then you're going to be far better off, because you can't get away from the fact that you're designed to scatter seeds and be with women.
Yeah. Plus they're everywhere. I mean, let's see, literally live out in the woods,
right,
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, unless you're like one of those level 10 MGTOWs that live in a cabin off the grid, that hunts their own food and no bank account and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and you recently did a video, I think, on MGTOW, right? Like your thoughts on it. You expanded on?
Yeah, I just kind of freestyled it. It was, it's on the channel. It's,
okay.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to put a link to it under this video after we're done filming it.
For sure.
All right. Talk to me about The Way of Men from Jack Donovan.
Yeah, that's a book about masculinity. He's, I've only gone through that once. I'd like to go through it again. Okay. He kind of opens your eyes to the way that men have developed and evolved throughout time and our place in society and how things have changed. And, that was another one where it's like, it just amplified my intuition that was speaking to me, my entire life. And it's like, yeah, that's just basically said to me what I've always kind of known or thought might've been true is like, it just works. It's like you said, it's like you start to see these like patterns of like data points that start to collect after a while, and then you just connect them all, and it just makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. Finding Rollo's work was like that for me too. I had many years being like out in the field, approaching women, cold approaching. Mm-hmm. And then I had a particularly nasty kind of divorce with someone who I believe has a cluster B personality disorder. Between those two, then, thousands of women I met out, in bars and clubs, and then a really kind of fucked up exit out of that relationship. Finding his book was just like, like a light bulb lighting up, all these dots connecting at the same time, data points, as you said.
Yeah. For sure.
Talk to me a little bit more about about your path economics. This is the one I'm least familiar with out of the 3 books that you recommend.
Yeah, Aaron Cleary is an interesting guy. I've chatted with him over Skype, and I think that was the first book out of the 3 that I had read that I started recommending on my channel to people to read, because his is more of a lifestyle approach. It's a no nonsense, no bullshit kind of lifestyle approach to going through life. So it doesn't matter if you're 20 years old or 40 years old, there's something in there that will make sense. A lot of it echoes the stuff that Rollo talks about, but he goes a lot deeper on things from a slightly different approach. I think Aaron's kind of got this, he's got this approach where he's got the gray in his beard sort of thing, from life experiences, from traveling the world, from his own coaching business. He has a coaching practice. I think he calls it asshole consulting. And he answers people's questions in a very honest way, very, very similar to the way that I do with my own coaching business. It's just, I didn't call it asshole consulting. He's got some good content in there that also makes a lot of sense. It's certainly worth the read. He talks about different stuff too, though, like money and education and the sort of stuff you should take in school. I was going to say
it's a little bit more expansive than Rollo's book, which focuses on sexual strategy and things like that.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the reasons I bought it was not just because you recommended it through emails and stuff like that, but that's a part of my life And it's been being a young man that I've had a difficult time really finding good information on. And you see that reflected in the 21 convention. It's been difficult for me to find speakers on business and career and wealth and things like that that are any good without them charging like tens of thousands of dollars to speak that I can't throw at them.
Right.
So I'm glad you recommended it. I'm looking forward to reading it.
Cool.
Nice. So we talked about, before going live, we were talking a little bit about your divorce experience, mine that I haven't shown you the video yet, but I'll send it to you after we're done.
Cool.
And so let's talk a little bit about that. And this is part of also what led you to finding Rollo's book too, right? Or it's part of the data points?
You know, it was a conversation with a guy that I had because I had been dating a lot, and you know, stuff just wasn't adding up, and we were kind of getting into stuff not adding up, why it doesn't add up, you know, a lot of, you know, suspicions. And it didn't take long for him to say, you know, have you read, you know, The Rational Male? And I was like, no, what's the book about? And I was like, okay. I was sold. Like, we only talked for about 5 minutes on it, right?
Okay.
You know, we were also talking about women and dating and, you know, the difficulty and, you know, the world that we live in today with hypergamy and, you know, the gynocentric nature of the way that the government positions family law. Yeah. We're chatting about divorce. I know we were talking about the divorce video. So do you kind of want to talk about divorce and how that affects men?
I'd love to. Yeah. It's even for young guys, I think it's a huge topic of interest, and obviously guys in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah. Like, there's an interesting group of men that are really getting quite loud lately, called, you know, MGTOW guys. And a lot of them, well, I think there's two distinct areas of them. There's guys that have been divorced and go MGTOW after they get divorced because they see the shitty way that, you know, the legal system treats them and how women have no incentive to behave well during divorce, and how hypergamy governs their, you know, belief system and the choices that they make and stuff like that. And then there's the other group, which is the younger guys, which are listening to the older guys going, I don't want to end up there, you know, because I see how it's killed some, like, you know, some of them commit suicide. And, you know, some guys are completely broke and destitute. You know, it's funny.
It destroys your whole life and your future sometimes with alimony and child support and things like that.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I had a conversation with a woman once. You know, we're out on a date and we were driving by this townhouse neighborhood, very small townhouses, and she's like, "Yeah, there's a townhouse developed," and she goes, "I think I've dated like 5 divorced guys from that area." And I said, "Oh, why? What happened? Did they all get taken to the cleaners after their divorce?" And she was like, "Yep."
Oh, I know it's such a coincidence, though. There's no significance behind that. Nothing to see behind the curtain there.
Yeah, right.
Fuck, man. I didn't actually tell you this, but I think this will be quite interesting to you. Usually is to red pill guys. So I got married when I was pretty young. I was 24, I believe.
Right.
I was only married for 2 years, but because I listened to guys in the kind of PUA field and like related areas like men's rights movement, I opted for what's called a private marriage, which is something I kind of made up and then realized people already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I never actually got married on paper because I saw guys in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that just got demolished by the court system, by divorce, by all of it. And I was like, I don't ever want to do that. So what I did was listen to guys who are older than me, somewhat, and never get married on paper. And then I opted to do all the things along with it, though. So we had a wedding, a honeymoon, traded rings, and she took my last name. Mm-hmm. And I talk about this in the video too. I'll send you, but I kind of gloss over it there. So I need to do like a thing on it.
Okay.
Anyway, I thought this would be kind of an interesting point because guys have been, yelling at, not yelling, but saying this for a long time on the internet, and not that many young men are listening, I think, as of yet.
Yeah, like there's nothing, like, guys just don't get it. I had no idea. Like I had no idea how bad it could be trying to exit a marriage that just wasn't right. Like it was the wrong fit. And the laws are I just had no idea. Like I had no idea that the laws are not in your favor. Like a conversation I had with my lawyer at the time, he goes, "Well, you've got the penis, so you're basically screwed if you have to go to trial." Damn. And I was like, "What? Like, are you fucking kidding me?" And then I started reading case law. Like I started reading case law between what happens between men and women in court. And here in Canada, it's publicly available on a website called canley.org. And all I would do is I would basically, on the nights when I wasn't with my daughter, I would start, looking for case law stories on custody arrangements, support, alimony, basically anything to do with divorce. And I was reading all these like 80-page documents. Like I was basically studying to become a lawyer. It was nuts. And I just couldn't believe the shit that I was seeing. Like I mean, it still shakes me to this day when I think about it.
And as an entrepreneur, you were already familiar with reading about legal things and dealing with this kind of stuff to some extent.
Yeah, like when you run a business, I mean, you run into legal matters all the time. I mean, I ran into my first legal matter, I think probably a year or two into my business, and usually you have about one or so per year. I think in the US it's probably higher because it's a little more litigious down there, but
Mm.
it's very stressful at the very beginning and you lose a lot of sleep. And I'll tell you, like even after about 5 or 6 fairly significant legal matters that I had to resolve my own business, my sleep patterns completely changed through the course of the divorce.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's incredibly fucking stressful. I mean, guys kill themselves over it, no doubt.
yeah, there's nothing worse to the mental health, economic health, physical health, self-care to a man than picking the wrong partner and settling down with them. And I've said this over and over again in my channel.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I coach guys, the most on when they book my time on the phone off my channel, is, I'm getting married, I'm engaged, this is what's going on. What do you think of this, this, and this, right? And it's like, dude, your intuition's speaking to you. I
Yeah.
didn't listen to it. Okay. Let me just point to some data points here for you. And, there's some things in your blind spot that you're not seeing. And
Mhm.
here's what could potentially happen on the exit if it doesn't work out. Right. And it's not like I encourage them to get married or discourage them from getting married, but it's like, let me just point to some facts for you, brother, because there's some shit that you're not really seeing here right now, even though you kind of sense it, like the spidey senses tingle, because that's what happens with guys, right? Our spidey senses tingle. I think
Listen.
with women, yeah, and we don't. We're like, shut the fuck up. I got this, right? I can handle anything.
Well, I read a quote the other day from somewhere. It might have been the Red Pill subreddit. I'm not sure, but it was that men are tuned to sense physical threats, not psychological threats, which may
Yeah.
not be 100% true, but it's true in that, practically speaking, that's how we operate. Physical threats we pay attention to, and ones where you hear it or you feel it, and you're like, ah, fuck it.
Yeah. Well,
So,
we've been nomadic hunter gatherers for a long, long time. It's only like this recent sliver of history. It's like the blink of an eye that we've been operating with agriculture and transportation and communication. And we're sitting here on computers with microphones and all kinds of crazy shit. And I can go and get meat out of my fridge and cook it up on the barbecue and I don't have to hunt it. We've been nomadic hunter gatherers for a long time. And it's like, if you and I went out hunting and I got smoked by a saber-toothed tiger and you went back with the mastodon meat to the tribe of 20, 40, 50 people, whatever. And you'd be like, sorry, in Fufu or Wilma or, whoever my partner was or whatever, Rich got cooked by the saber-toothed tiger. Everybody else would just pitch in and take care of her, and the kids and everything would just kind of work out, sort of thing. Right. So guys would just get smoked throughout history. I think there was an article that Rollo did on war brides. Was that?
he's done two, I think, and they're both pretty famous. Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole concept of war brides makes a lot of sense because that's more of a modern concept where there would be two conflicts and they would go in, defeat the other band or village or tribe or country or whatever, and they would either kill off the men, kill off the boys that were of warfighting age, or put them into slavery, and then they would just take the women and marry them and have children with them, right? So women are very adaptive to changes. I think that's why I think they deal with breakups a lot easier. Guys we don't really know how to deal with that sort of stuff because we really haven't been conditioned to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Things
I've seen a video on your channel too where you actually talk about like the best ways. It might have been before you found Red Pill, but I thought it was pretty useful. Where you talk about some of the best ways to get over a breakup, or some of those important things to do after the fact.
Yeah, it's funny because I had somebody mention that to me the other day. They'd watched the video and they said, like I saw like a really honest, vulnerable guy talking there, but I wasn't like, I was talking about my top tips about getting over a breakup, and I still, stand by them saying that they're useful. But now that I see the video again, I know that I was full of shit when I was trying to tell myself that I had used these and I had gotten over a breakup very quickly.
Okay.
Because it took a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes time. I was talking to one of our other speakers yesterday, Christian McQueen. I don't know if you know who he is, Red Pill guy.
I've followed him on Instagram, but I don't know too much about him yet.
Okay. Yeah, he's another speaker at the convention. Him and Roll are pretty tight.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the same issue, getting over breakup and like what are the things are necessary. And one of the things I mentioned to him was just time. I mean, I'm only now post sort of divorce ahead, a little bit over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And every month that goes by, it's like better and better. But it's like, damn, like time is by far the most useful thing. It's more powerful, I think, than banging new chicks, which I thought would have been the most important thing.
Yeah, banging new chicks doesn't work. That's just it just doesn't change anything.
Yeah, I found it helps a little bit, but it's like pretty far distant behind just time, focusing on what's important to you in your life, taking care of yourself, taking care of your business. In my case,
yeah, it's really the whole self-care thing. If you can just work on being a better version of yourself and being a higher value type of male, and really valuing yourself and understanding more about what your non-negotiables are. Like a lot of people don't learn from their past breakups. They don't learn from their past, you know what I mean? And they just kind of make the same mistake over and over again. And, you got to ask yourself, well, what's the common denominator in every single fucking equation? It's be making shitty ass choices.
Yep.
So question your value system, question, what you've been doing wrong, question the lens in which you view relationships. Just ask questions, seek answers. I mean, one of the things that I did a couple of years ago when I first set up the channels, I actually spent a lot of time on YouTube looking up, clinical psychologist talks about breakups, marriages, divorces, women. And it's like, one thing led to another. It's like, I feel like I'm a way, way better person today than what I was 5 years ago, just because of all the pain, the hurt, the cost, the expense, lack of sleep,
Yep.
I could go on and on and on, but it's like, I'm a way better version of myself, and people see it today. It's like, they just know that, I'm unfuckwithable.
Yeah. The minute I talked to you last time we talked on Skype, I was like, yeah, this guy is totally fucking on point. It comes across every time you do a video and every time I talk to you. Actually, speaking to your point, I think one of the best ways I've heard put what you're saying is that adversity is a hardening experience and it makes you more masculine, which is why the more shit you go through and the older you get without dying, the more masculine, the more, badass you get in your case.
Yeah, you definitely become more badass as you get older. I mean, if you work on yourself, if you're open to the fact that you need to be vulnerable sometimes, you need to question a lot of the things that you've done, question a lot of the things that you believed. I talk, on my channel a lot about our belief system governing the daily choices that we make, which get the results that we get out of life. So a lot of the times, whenever I'm coaching somebody, I'm just asking them questions about, what do things look like today? Like, tell me about the results that you've gotten out of life, which tells me what choices they make every day. And I know what choices they make come from their belief system. And for you to get different results, to change that flow, you have to really change your belief system.
Yeah. Versus a lot of guys will get kind of stuck in their ways and they'll just stay stuck on that for the rest of their lives. I think that's why we talked about a little bit about Andrew the Private Man before this call went live, and he was, I think, 47 when he found the red pill.
Yeah.
I don't know how old you were when you just found it, but
well, it was probably about November, December, so it's fairly recently.
Were you in your? I don't know how old you are, in your 40s at some point now.
I'm 44 this year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, a little bit younger. Yeah, but both Excel. Yeah, both of you guys, man. Shit. Yeah, I found it, at 27, so I'm pretty happy to have found it then. But yeah, it's a testament to who you are, I think, to find it at that age and then turn on a dime like that, or turn however hard you need, sharp you need to.
Yeah, like it's a sharp turn, like it's a 90-degree turn, and it's not always 90 degrees, but it's a hard turn at high speed going in a different direction.
Yeah,
and it forces you to change the way that you deal with a lot of shit. You start giving less fucks about things that you don't need to give fucks about, because you only have so many fucks in your day that you can dispense to things that are truly fuckworthy. Okay. So you tend to reserve fucks for things that are fuckworthy, if you know what I'm saying.
No, totally.
Yeah. And it's like,
great way to put it.
Sometimes people don't like that in you, family and friends don't like that in you. A lot of women don't like that in you, because you've got this new level of power that they don't want you to have, that they can't manipulate, that they can't fuck with you on. Yep. And it's like, I can't even count the number of times where I've just told people to pound sand. And it's not me even saying, why don't you go fuck yourself or go pound sand? It's just, I just have a way of just letting them go. And like,
goodbye.
For me to be offended, I would first have to care, basically. Right.
Yeah. Yep. Let's shift gears a little bit. We also talked a little bit about Sex at Dawn before we got in the call.
Yeah.
That's a book I just got from Andrew the Private Man right before he died. And I haven't read it yet, but I've heard a lot about it, not only recently through Red Pill, but even before that in the kind of pickup community I was involved with.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that and what it means to you, or how it influenced you.
Another huge game changer for me. I'd say it's right up there with The Rational Male. Okay. It talks a lot about it. It forces you to question the narrative that we've been told about marriage, intergender relationships, a lot of the stuff that Rollo gets into, but it gets more into the anthropological, scientific, evolutionary, scale of things. Like the difference between us and our next closest primates, the bonobo chimp, is something like 1.7% on like a DNA, like a genetic level. So we're actually more closely related to the bonobo chimp than like an African elephant is to an Indian elephant, for example.
Okay.
Okay. So, there's a lot of things in that book that talk about, us being in nomadic hunter-gatherer tribes for a very long period of time, and how agriculture changed all that because we had property rights that needed to be, passed on to our children, and how that, changed things. But if you look at the structure of, human beings, men and women, and the way their reproductive systems are designed, there's no question in my mind that we're not designed to be monogamous for the rest of our life. We're pair bonding creatures for sure, but we're not designed to be monogamous for our entire life. So it really explains a lot in the way that, breakups happen, marriages fall apart, cheating, infidelity, and all that sort of stuff. And I really don't even know what the answer is right now. In fact, I was telling you, before we flipped on the camera, that I'd reached out to the author, Christopher Ryan, and I got a response back. So I'm trying to book an interview with them.
Nice.
Yeah, like I've been watching the TED Talks that he's got on YouTube. I've listened to a bunch of interviews he had with Joe Rogan, and he makes a lot of sense. It's like another one of those things where it's like your intuition's been talking to you, it's been whispering in your ear, and then reading this book kind of amplifies it, and it just makes sense, and all those data points just sort of start connecting, right?
Okay. So is this influencing how you're looking at the future of your life? I mean, like The Rational Male, I'm sure has influenced you there too. Is it that impactful for you?
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Man, yeah, I need to pick it up. Fuck. So many books I'm picking up, man.
I have a feeling by the time you get through Sex at Dawn, you're probably going to have him as a speaker at the event.
Yeah, will not be the first time that happened. So I think Rollo happened that way too, actually. The minute I found his work, I got the book, and then I'm like, fuck, I need to get this guy to speak.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's shift gears entirely. We've been talking mostly about red pill, sex, things of that nature. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. Something that on our channel is liked, I think, quite a bit, but we don't talk about it that much. So you've been an entrepreneur for over 10 years now, I believe you said.
Yeah. So I think I started my first business in my teens, and, as a younger kid, I always kind of like trying to scramble to, find money, because I was in one of those households where we never got an allowance. We just had to figure out our own shit.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of ended by my teen years. And I did what everybody told me to do, which was go to college, get a degree, go work for somebody, get a watch when you retire, and all that bullshit. And that,
watch when you retire.
Yeah, the standard narrative.
I never heard that one. I guess I'm younger generation, but the rest of
like a gold watch. You're supposed to retire and get a gold watch. Sort of thing like that.
All right, it's vaguely familiar to me.
It's more familiar maybe to my generation, but yeah. So I got packaged off when I was about 30. I think it was about 3 weeks after I had bought a house, and I just moved in. I had a mortgage to deal with, and I just knew that I didn't want to go work for anybody else again. Like I just knew that I had to start up my own business, because I needed I had bigger shit to do with my life than that basically line somebody else's pocket with gold and serve their narrative and deal with all their bullshit, because I had seen enough. So yeah, I just went balls deep, man. I just went all in. Created a couple of different businesses. There's one that's stuck that I still work on today. That's my main source of income, but I've diversified over the year, and I've paid a lot of attention to create streams of passive income, so that now I've got this 1 hour time to talk to you while other things that I've done are still making me money. Like a book that I've published on do-it-yourself debt settlement pays me money. Private investments that I have out pay me recurring revenue. Videos that I've created on YouTube that have ads running on them that people are watching right now are paying me passive revenue. People booking calls from my coaching expertise pay me passive revenue, right? Sort of thing. So, yeah, like I've kind of built it out so that I've created this lifestyle that I can live right now, so that I can keep working on myself, because to me, that's like the most important thing. Is I can't serve anybody really, really well unless I'm the best version of myself.
Okay. So entrepreneurship basically serves you in building the life that you want and living how you want to the T.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. The first, like when you look at the stats, they're just nuts. Like, there's people that refuse to get into a marriage because of the divorce rates. Well, the stats on building a successful business are even worse, right?
Yeah,
like,
almost all of them fail, right?
Yeah, like 9 out of 10 are going to fail within the first 3 years. And the fact of the matter is, if you take a look at the stats of all the people that are self-employed, so entrepreneurs in North America right now, I think the stat is something like 97% of them report less than $1 million a year in sales, which is fuck all. because a lot of people see guys like Elon Musk, the Apples of the world, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Snapchats, and the blah, blah, blah. And they think, yeah, I can do that too. Well, the chances of that happening, of you being in the right place at the right time with the right experience, with the right know-how and the right people and the right amount of financing, all those things coming together, very slim. So I do some coaching for people in entrepreneurship and getting their business off the ground and making better choices and marketing and stuff like that. But it's very difficult, and the reward is big, but so is the risk. I'd say that the risk is probably greater than the reward.
Damn. All right. Well, here's a follow-up question. Do you think, it's kind of I've seen you talk about this on your channel, which is why I'm asking. Do you think entrepreneurship is for everyone or not? Or is there a certain set, like you mentioned, starting your own business in your teens? I think the way you put that, I've heard you put it, is like you were a self-starter, and that's why you stuck with it over the years as you've aged. Yeah.
So most of my closest friends are entrepreneurs. I have a difficult time, connecting with somebody that's like, works at the paint counter at Home Depot or is an early childhood care educator or something like that. They just don't have any clue as far as the kind of shit that I've been through and the sorts
I hear you 100%. 100%.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah.
100%, dude.
Right.
Yep.
They think that there's some magic wand that you wave, or you've got some like horseshoe up your ass when you wake up in the morning and everything just magically comes together. They have no clue about all the pain, all the stress, all the sleepless nights, all the times you've cried over the
massive responsibility of running a business and being at the head of it. Yeah,
huge. Nobody gets it. Even the government doesn't fucking get it, because they tax the shit out of us, and they put these ridiculous rules in place which they think make things better. But we still persist, we still push on, and we still make shit happen. And it's entrepreneurs that put dents in the universe. Steve Jobs said it where he said, he just wanted to put a little dent in the universe. And you've got guys like Elon Musk that are doing ridiculous fucking things. Like, he wants to fly people to the moon, right? Like, we've got autonomous electric cars, and we've got things like Uber and Airbnb. And like, in a world where I grew up, it was like, I would see hotel chains and you'd think, oh, wow, that's a nice piece of real estate and da 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 da. Well, Airbnb is the biggest fucking hotel chain in the world, and they own no real estate. They don't have to pay any maintenance on any of that real estate. So entrepreneurs innovate, and they break out, into new ground. They just create, it's entrepreneurs that drive the economy of the world. It's nuts, and it's very, very difficult. It's very hard. And, to get to your original point, can anybody do it? I think that there's signals that come off kids. And I've seen it, kids anywhere between like 5 and maybe 15 years old, signaling that they're looking for innovative ways to make money, to solve problems. And there's certain things that parents can do to encourage that sort of behavior. Like, one of the things that I always tell parents whenever they ask about, my kid might be an entrepreneur, is, rather than give them chores, or rather than give them a allowance, tell them to go around the house and find something that needs to be solved, some problem that needs to be solved, something that needs to be done. And then they come to you with a price that they're then going to negotiate for that task. Starting out with something simple like that. And that kind of gets the ball rolling. Some kids are just like out of the box, batshit crazy. Like Elon Musk was designing software when he was like 11 years old, right? And he just did it on his own, right? Computer software. His parents had no idea what the hell he was doing. He just did it. So I don't think that you can, train entrepreneurship into somebody. You can certainly bring it along and move it along quicker. Like, everybody that I've met over the last 10 years that's in my inner circle, my close circle, that's an entrepreneur that's built a business that does over $1 million a year in sales, they all did something when they were young, very young. They all did something in their, like 7, 8 years old plus.
Wow.
Something to make money or solve some sort of problem.
Damn, I thought I was a young starter, but damn, I didn't start till I was like 16. So
yeah,
close, I guess, but not quite. All right, talk to me a little bit about the Entrepreneur. I think it's something we hit on last time a little bit on our last Skype call.
Yeah, entrepreneurs are, I don't know. I mean,
I think it's more modern phenomenon, but
yeah, here's the thing. I saw a study done on right swipes on dating apps, and the number one right swipe was pilot. For some reason, for women. Number 2 was entrepreneur. So I think lately, in the last, 5 to 10 years with, social media and a lot of information moving around very easily and it being very sexy. You know what I'm saying? Like Elon Musk, this sexy dude that's got all this cool shit. Even though he's a stuttering, mumbling Muppet sometimes when he's talking on stage, he's still like any chick would throw themselves at him, right?
Yeah, he has a bad habit of getting married too, man. I think he just
to the same woman twice, even sometimes too, right?
Oh my god, I'm not that familiar with it, but holy shit, I'm not surprised. I guess.
Yeah, he's been married to Tallulah twice, apparently.
We got to get him the Rational Mail.
Well, that's the thing, you know what I mean? Like, even uber successful guys like that don't always make the best choices when it comes to women, because they're so focused on other things.
They're insulated too. Like it's hard, even if my channel was a lot bigger than it is, like 1 million or yours or something, it's still hard to get in contact with him to get him that information because he has so much shit in his ear all the time, probably.
Yeah, like there's people all over him all the time with stuff. So he's very, he's guarding his time very well, obviously. What you have to do when when you're an entrepreneur, because people try to throw themselves at you with their ideas or their investments or some bullshit at any given time. And it's
but in his case, it's leaving him open to just getting divorce raped again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
I guess he has enough money to keep getting divorce raped, but
yeah.
But I think one of his wives ex-wives got stock out of his company or something.
Yeah, his first one probably. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's horrible. That's fucking evil. Fuck, man. So you're speaking at the 21 convention this year. You have obviously a number of things you could talk about. I know you haven't made a decision yet, but do you kind of have like a direction or kind of a few different directions you want to talk about for speaking this year at the event? Yeah,
it's it's certainly going to be stuff that's going to help guys become a better version of themselves. It's going to create a lot of more like awareness around their life. We'll talk about it more offline, of course, afterwards, so I can make sure that I can fill a good void. But there's a lot of stuff that I can talk about.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Anybody that has a good background in entrepreneurship always has my
cool.
Badass. Talk to me a little bit more about your channel. So Entrepreneurs in Cars is really blowing up in subscribers. I think you've gone from 30,000 to 40,000 pretty quickly.
Well, it was at 5,000 on my birthday on November 2nd. I think it's
just this past November. Holy shit.
Yeah, and it's at 41,000 right now. So
that is badass, dude. Congratulations. Holy fuck.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it picked up a lot of new subscribers, I think, just because like I pivoted, like I stopped talking about basic bitch shit and I started being more authentic. I started pouring myself into it more and just being very polarizing. And I think that, in life, if you're going to do anything, there's too much of this bullshit cookie cutter political correctness. Let's not offend anybody and all the fucking snowflakes that get their feelings hurt. And I see them write comments in my videos, right? Like I've done videos on single motherhood. I've done, videos on the millennial generation. I've done videos on all kinds of stuff. And there's always some, snowflake that comes along with their hurt feelings that likes to spit venom. But it's like, dude, it's the truth. And I know the truth hurts sometimes, but it'll set you free if you open your eyes and you let it, sort of thing. Yeah. So I'm just not afraid to say stuff that a lot of people are afraid to say. The problem with that now, though, is that YouTube's changed their algorithms quite a bit in the last 60 days, and they don't recommend my videos in other people's feeds when they kind of go on, because I talk about shit that isn't very mainstream. It's not blue pill stuff. I talk about red pill stuff, right?
Have you been hit by any demonetization stuff? That's been a big thing.
I had a few videos demonetized, but I fixed it by changing the title and the tag, so I never even had to change the video itself. But I have noticed that the ad rates dropped by like 80%.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's everyone, universal. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've shown my stuff a lot less in the recommended feed to people, but people still see it. So, as long as people are watching content that's similar to mine on YouTube, YouTube's gonna, just at some point say, all right, fuck it. He's not interested in rainbows, unicorns, and butterflies and kitty cats. He wants to see stuff about dating or hear the truth about business, or wants to know more about BMW M5s with 700 horsepower sort of thing. And they'll just throw it in their feed. So it still shows up.
Yeah. Nice, man. Yeah, that's fucking badass. We had a blow up like that too a few years ago in subscriber base, but more recently it's just been like a couple thousand, anywhere from 1 to like 2,000 per month, 3,000, something like that.
Yeah.
But man, that's huge, from 5,000 to 41,000 in just a few months. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. You'll probably hit 100,000 in a few months or something like that.
Yeah, I was looking on Social Blade and they said by like the end of the year I should have about 120,000 subscribers, but who knows.
Yeah, dude, I'm rooting for you, man. Shit. I have you in our little sidebar thing, so maybe you'll get some from us. This video too, of course.
Cool.
Another topic I wanted to hit on that I've seen in your channel that I agree with you. So I watched the video a few weeks ago. I liked it a lot. You talked about, I think it was just porn and masturbation,
Yeah.
which, you know, the standard narrative right now is like, it's kind of this pop science. Like, have you seen this TED Talk? Have you seen your brain on porn? Porn's evil. Porn's the devil. It's going to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's ruining your life. Talk a little bit about that and what your views are compared to that standard kind of mainstream narrative right now.
Listen, anything is bad if you do too much of it. You know, if you're jerking off 16 times a day, then you're going to have calluses on your hands and your dick's going to hurt and you're not going to do anything with your life, right? There's nothing wrong with masturbating, you know, and there's nothing wrong with beating off to porn. You know, it's there as long as you're not letting it consume your days and your lives. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, right?
All right. Do you think there's any sort of my theory in this is like there's like a strain of kind of anti-masculinity that comes along with like the anti-porn stuff, the anti-masturbation stuff. Have you found any of that true as well, or does that influence your thinking?
Anti-masculinity with respects to porn, no.
'Cause you don't see this for women, right? Women are not discouraged to use vibrators and shit. They're not discouraged to look at porn. It's just whatever, you know, female masturbation's sexy, and for men it's like vicious, evil, perverted, wicked, weird.
Well,
it's a huge double standard.
Actually, not necessarily true. I was watching something the other day, and the top 5 searches that women use to get off on when it comes to pornography, and I don't know if it's visual or if it's like stuff that they read. I suspect it's more about stuff that they read, because I think that women kind of get more off on like the storytelling, like the 50 Shades of Grey, like the fastest selling book of all fucking time ever, right?
Yep.
So it's vampire shit, werewolf shit, billionaire stuff. What was the other one? Pirates. And I can't remember what the 5th one was, but it's like, you know, they like guys that are dominant, big, strong, can fuck them up. You know, it's just weird stuff. Like weird, like that's what gets them off. Guys
werewolf
like to,
shit.
Yeah, right. I know. You know, guys like to rub one out to a chick with a nice round ass and big boobs. I mean, you know, that's never changed. You know, guys have always liked nice hips, nice bum, and nice tits, because it signals to us that, you know, they're reproductively ready, right? So, you know, just as long as it doesn't consume your day, I see nothing wrong with porn. And I've made that quite clear to people. Some people still vehemently oppose it. I don't really give a fuck. You know, that's their opinion.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading such an authentic, genuine take on this issue in the Wall Street Journal sometime soon about what we're looking at. And that's the thing. We'll never see what you just said. You know, women are, and this is, I'm sure there's like research and stats for this, but no one talks about it.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know, if there's anybody out there that's an author that's watching this right now, you know, 50 Shades of Grey's been done. The billionaire thing's been done. So if you want to do a book on some billionaire werewolf, like in, you know,
vampire
something
hybrid, yeah,
pirate with an eye patch or something, go nuts, because you'll probably sell it out like huge.
Fuck, man. So here's a question. I think I know the answer, but I'd like to just kind of talk about it anyway. What other speaker or fellow speaker at the convention this year, your first time speaking at the 21 convention, are you most excited to see and to meet?
I'm gonna probably go with Rollo Tomasi then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you talked about him before, obviously throughout this podcast and your channel, but why is that exactly? Other than the fact that he's been impossible to meet up to this point, the guy's like a ghost.
Yeah, he is a ghost. You know, I don't even know what he looks like, to be honest with you.
You can look at his Twitter. He has a few pictures that are like snowmobiles and shit.
Yeah, like I found the picture that you had on your 21 convention page of him with the poker chips, with a hat and sunglasses, of course. But yeah, he's like, you know, he's like a mystery man. Like I'm waiting for him to come out in like some Spider-Man outfit or like some suit that covers his eyes.
Well, he is the internet's you know, #1 supervillain.
Yeah,
supervillain.
right. Yeah, and it's a pen name too, so like we all know that, you know. Yeah, so that'll be cool. Sorry, what was your question?
It was this the #1 speaker you're most excited to meet and
yeah,
to hear speak?
Probably Rollo Tomasi, and then I'm going to go with Jack Donovan. And I think you should probably consider Christopher Ryan, brother.
Well, that cat's out of the bag. I hadn't announced Jack Donovan yet.
Oh shit!
It doesn't matter. It's fun. I thought that might happen, but I was like, yeah, fuck it if it does.
Do you want to just cut that part out and go back in, or is it live? No,
it's live. It can't be taken out.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, Rollo was shitting too, I think, and Goldman Unleashed. They know him really well, or they know his work really well. I know Goldman's met him too. Yeah, he interviewed him a while back. So yeah, we got him about a week ago. I actually had to hit him up through Instagram to talk to him because email was just going nowhere. Yeah. So I was like, let me go on these other channels and see how this goes. And I talked to him and we worked it out. And he should be announcing soon on his own blog. So awesome. I'm pretty excited to him. Yeah, I'm actually, man, I'm running out of, he got one of the last spots. I'm running out of spots at the event. Yeah. But there's a few more on the looking guys like the Sex at Dawn and a few others. So we'll see how it goes.
Cool.
All right, man. We're kind of coming up on the closing time. Is there anything you'd like to tell our viewers before this closes out? Kind of like a parting message, or what they can hope to look at or learn from your channel more specifically.
Well, well, check out the channel. It's Entrepreneurs in Cars on YouTube. It's pretty easy to
Okay.
find if you search it. Lots of good content in there that's all relevant. It's all evergreen. It all matters today or in 5 years' time, 10 years' time.
Yeah.
Just work on yourselves. I mean, stop making excuses. Stop, blaming other people for your shit. Take ownership. Understand, your masculinity and your worth in the world. And just become a better version of yourself. Stop being a basic bitch, because a lot of guys I've noticed go through life just basically sleepwalking, and they just kind of go through the motions of doing all the shit that everybody's always told them to do, whether it's government, religion, parents, media, whatever it is. That narrative serves them, but it doesn't necessarily serve you properly. And I think that men need to tune into who they are and what makes them become better. And it's different for everybody, but everybody's got their own struggles and challenges that they got to kind of figure out. But just work on yourself. There's too many guys that sit around fucking the dog, sleepwalking through life, and it's like before they know it, they're 50 years old, they're divorced, and they live in a tent somewhere, right? And it's like, if you go through life on a more intentional basis, working on yourself, shit is just way better. It's so much better.
Nice. All right, man. That's a message I'd love to continue supporting at the convention, man. So I appreciate having you on the show and at the event later this year too.
Cool, man.
All right, I'm gonna close it out. Everyone, thanks for tuning in live to the show. I will post the links to his channel and things like that in this video in the description after we're done. Richard, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate your time.
Thanks. All right, brother. Peace.
Yep. You could stay on. I'm gonna close it live here.
Okay.